Alright guys, Hatch Comic again today. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The CDL matches are back underway this weekend. OpTic played Toronto in a very interesting scrim set last night, but some suggesting that maybe Toronto need to get their team blown up by FaZe as FaZe search to find a new way to make their team better after a difficult couple of weekends, as they're on the verge of being in a really difficult position going into Birmingham. Would Toronto agree to any such suggestions? Throw mods and throw to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Some chaos in the challenger side over the last couple of days. We're going to start with what was happening in the elite itself. So, the Bush. They've got a brand new roster. Wake is in. He's actually been there for some time. Prolute's been there all along. Fire, of course, is there as well for some time. But aBe joined because CDL got signed up to the Pro League. And, well, Wake playing pretty well. What's funny about Bush is that they've won every single map that isn't an overload, and all of the overloads I think they've lost. So but everything else they're dominant at right now. As Fire says, end of the week 4-0 in the elite, one more match next week to end the groups flawless. So looking pretty good for the Bush. Don says, I fear that the face might be getting called up soon. Look, we'll see. Right now, Bush look like the team again to look at. We'll find out this weekend how CDL's early run goes on the Surge. I don't imagine it's going to be especially great just because Surge, look, I think CDL's a solid player, but I don't know if anyone can save that Surge situation right now. I guess we'll find out. Spart has gone to Boston. His first couple of series looked really good. So, look, TJ's come into the league on Surge. Has he done much? Not really, right? So, that was the Bush situation early doors. Prolute is the last one standing of that original combination. Is he likely to get another opportunity? Maybe, right? He's been playing well. Certainly the last couple of days that's been true in the elite. Bush will be the team to look at, I guess, in terms of talent, especially if CDL does do well, then it feels like, okay, we might as well get Fire, we might as well get Prolute. But I do think that, like, aBe's been cooking as well, and I know that obviously it was a disaster on Surge, but I still think aBe is a player who has a future in him somewhere. So I don't know who's more likely to get signed, I guess is my point. But they took down at Brooklyn. That's a Seam, Brak, Cammy and ReeaL. They took that team down without too much difficulty. Again, they lost the overload on the exposure 6-3. Fire went double negative. But apart from that, they just win every other map, so it doesn't really matter. They won the Surge. They won the hard points. They get the job done there. There was also some interesting series such as Falcons Academy versus Cabal Gaming. This is now that Aluka team. Aluka Flames standing QK. This is a reverse sweep, so especially notable, really. Aluka has 106. Just worthy of keeping in mind because we are going to talk about FaZe in the coming minutes, where they sit going into this weekend. And if things don't go so well this weekend, as they might not, based on the matches they've got to play, then FaZe might need to pick up the phone either to Aluka on the bench, who surely is the most sensible option to try, or to somebody else, as we will discuss. Project Notorious, they took down the Huntsmen, and the Huntsmen have had a really terrible time of things here in this qualifier run. Swooty with a few thoughts on that as well, as we'll certainly get into. But they go down to Afro and Beans 3-1. That put them at 0-3, and then they lost to the FaZe Falcons. So Swooty took them down. Nox, by the way, like, what a player. Like, this guy, I was nearly going to talk about him yesterday, actually, after the first day of things, because he was cooking. But he drops 124 this series with 103 deaths. Like, Rispy has 110 deaths, but 75 kills, so he got slammed. But to have over 100 deaths and still drop 124 is pretty wild, right? Like, he was 38 in 30 map 1, map 4 he was 30 in 35, right? Like, this guy plays at some pace and with some serious impact. His BP rating is high as a result. But yeah, Swooty's team of the FaZe Falcons, they get the job done. And they relegate Huntsman down to 0-4, despite the fact that Johnny has been, and I know, people are going to look at his numbers probably and say, well, has he just been playing for kills? But, like, look at his numbers in the elite. 1.15, 1.2, 1.16, 1.2, and he's had over 100 kills in 3 of those 4 series. Lost all of them, right? So, yeah, maybe free Johnny or something. I don't know what people are going to say next. The point being, it's not a good look for the Huntsmen lately. They're 0-4. Very difficult run in the elite. They're not going to make it to the playoffs. This is pretty hilarious. The former was watching this, what turned out to be the final round here. They're down 5-2, and he's like, well, what's going to that happen? Maybe they can bring the comeback, and Johnny throws the nade over ringside, and then the stream goes offline. So Formworld's like, oh, well, I guess they lost then, right? So, bit of a stream delay. Johnny presumably lost the round, immediately pressed end stream, and nobody got to see what happened. So, yeah, not the ideal way to find out that Huntsmen have lost the tournament, is for the stream to immediately go offline. But understandably, lots of reaction, right? Zinni's like, damn, we just got bounced out of the elite, lots of work to be done. They've lost Nium, they've lost Kips. You know, were they the key factors? Maybe even Kips especially, because after Nium went, they still looked pretty good with Kips. Then Kips has gone, things have fallen off. Dimensions, is he the answer? Is Renegade, you know, good enough as a leader or whatever to help this team get better? Doesn't look like it right now. And Swooty was absolutely all over the possibility of talking a bit of trash on Zinni as a result. So I'll share that clip in a couple of seconds when we talk about some other roster changes that might need to be happening. But as a result of all this, effectively all the top seeds for the playoffs for the Elite have already been locked in, because the teams that are further down that still have matches to play, but because of the teams that they lost to, the seedings basically mean these are the rosters that made it. Both 4 fun esports teams played each other as well, which I thought was a little bit interesting, but it is what it is, I suppose. Zinni as well is obviously having a pretty difficult time watching his Huntsman boys get absolutely clapped. So we'll talk about them roster changes more in a second. Just before we get there, AR Pyramid going into these major 2 qualifiers. How does it lie? Is this a fair assessment? Spart's on the list, Kips is on the list now, Lunarz is a new addition, although don't know if I'm putting anyone from the Surge on the list, to be perfectly honest. Nasty, Super, you know, some familiar names, but really the top of the list. Mercules is top of the pile, no real surprise there. Rencor has played very, very well. Individually, like, his numbers are really good, and I think he deserves to be on the list. I think I have him probably 1 tier still down from here. I don't know if he quite deserves to be 3rd, but, you know, you can argue it. Obviously, the Paris boys, they won the major, but things haven't looked so good lately. Ghosty and Sib have dropped. I mean, Sib's already down to the 4th tier, which is pretty rough, but maybe fair. I've got Dashy quite a bit higher than this now on recent evidence. Like, I think I had Dashy, maybe even I had him 3rd, but I certainly had him when we did all the rankings and compiled everything 4th or 5th. So I think Dashy's heavily underrated in this list on recent performance. But yeah, enter into your thoughts in the comments. This is the SMG one. Simp's topping the lines. Neptune's still there, which I think is probably justified, even though Paris have had a difficult time. JoeDeceives dropping down feels a little unfair, but also you've got to give the doubt to the OpTic guys, right, and put them up. Would you put Huke behind, you know, would you put Huke ahead of Shotzzy in this list? Maybe on recent evidence, yes, but if you're just doing it off like last weekend's, then I guess yes, but also you've got to consider that Shotzzy on average has been better this season, so I'm still probably giving Shotzzy the benefit of the doubt over Huke, but it's marginal between the pair of them. You could easily argue Shotzzy and Huke on the same tier here. Maybe you even argue one of them over Simp, I don't know, but I think Simp probably still there for now, despite the woes that FaZe have currently had. HyDra's moving up, Envoy's moving down. We got some new features because CleanX is back on the sub, so he's back on this list as well. Anyway, it's very difficult to manage the tiers further down, but intrigued to your thoughts as always. Speaking of Joe and the OpTic guys, they played a scrim set last night, and we got a very interesting set of results again. So it was 6-2 in favour of OpTic. The Scar OpTic won, like pretty much they always do. That was 39 in 26 masterclass out of Mercules. They won the Den. Again, Merc was on fire this series. So it's just interesting to see, because these teams, we'll wonder really how competitive Toronto are going to be. We know that OpTic have been cooking in scrims lately. That is not changing. They dominated the Colossus, put the Toronto boys in the 100 club. They won the exposure. Again, not that many of these maps were really that close, but they did lose the black card, and this was notable because JoeDeceives, first of all, goes 45 in 28 tier. Kips has 41, but Insight has honestly been generational on this map, which is so interesting to me. When you think about Insight as a player, you think, oh, well, slower AR. If there's one map that he might get exposed on, it would be black cards, you would think. But actually, he's really, really good at this map. I mean, he has 2 minutes in the hill here, 37 in 27, highest damage in the entire lobby, even more than JoeDeceives, who dropped 45. Obviously, tons of assists, right? Insight has 27 assists to this map, 27 non-traded. So, pretty outrageous stuff, to be honest. And yeah, they get a nice map win over OpTic. Now, we know that OpTic are good at this map. They've played it a lot lately. They've been been cooking on this map. So for Toronto to beat them on it shows that Toronto are really a force to be reckoned with on Blackheart's hardpoint. Maybe it's a map that OpTic could avoid this weekend as a result of this. I don't know. But I'm sure that there's a little bit of map pool expansion that could be done. But it's not like OpTic have easy games. Certainly not their first one on the Saturday that we'll discuss here in the coming minutes. So yeah, Toronto, they do win a map at least in the hardpoints, and an impressive one at that. And it does look like they're in a better spot with Insight, but it's still not like they can get close to OpTic on average. They lost the Den Overload 4-2, they lost the Exposure 4-3, and then they won the Scar 4-3. So very tightly fought series in the Overloads. It looks like those game modes, it's more to play for. In the hardpoint, still a bit of work for Toronto to do against where OpTic currently are. Let's talk though, given Toronto's situation, about what could happen. So Zinni's talked about a couple of things. I'll share the Swooty clip, and then I'll share this one from Zinni about what he thinks FaZe should do.
Yes, sir.
Let's go, guys. All right, boys. Good job, man. Good job. That's good work from you guys, man.
Let's go. Hey, freak methods, right, boss? Freak that kid, bro. Trash out GM, bro. He thinks he knows ball. He does. He's terrible. He doesn't know how to build a team like you, boss.
Yeah, thank you, Swooty. Swooty, thank you. Thank you. I try. You know what I mean? I try.
He got lucky with Mercules, and he thinks he knows talent. He doesn't know shoot.
Come on. Come on. He's a good guy.
He doesn't know shoot about nothing, bro. Trash GM, bro. He thinks he's running. Hey. He'll never be you, boss. He'll never sniff your suit.
Nah, it's my boy, though. It's my boy, though. Swooty. We're humble in victory, Swooty. We're humble in victory, Swooty. We're humble. But maybe not you, but I am.
No. Respect to the Huntsman. I'm talking about Zinni. Just straight up method Zinni. Frick him.
That's because that some people on the Huntsman wanted you to, Swooty, remember that? And Zinni said no, right? Zinni said no?
Zinni said, let's be serious. Zinni doesn't take me serious. Frick you, Zinni. Well, you're not making the elite. So who's not taking serious? Freaking bum. Bro literally got Mercules and thought he knows talent now, bro.
Hey, come on. Hey, guys, good job. I'm proud of you guys. Good job, man. Listen, guys, make sure we're watching VOD. Let's go back and watch some VOD on the hard points that we lost and some of the maps that we lost and focus up, all right? And make sure we're fixing our mistakes.
Yes, sir.
Because it's not perfect. It's a good... Here's the thing, right? Like, if FaZe even were to make a change, though, it's going to be tough on, like, what direction to take, where to go, right? Like, it's just like, I don't know.
I already told you what I'd do if I was them. I would try it. I would call Toronto and see if JoeDeceives is possible.
I don't know if that would be possible. I don't know. I really don't know if Toronto would
I would just see. Because right now, Toronto's kind of riding a high. But at the same time, if you offer a piece or two for their future and some money, you know, they may be like, well, we're going to lose Joe anyway for free. Why not try to get what we can for him right now and try to build something long term?
Hey,
I'm literally talking out of my ass. I think it's a lot more... Oh, that was dirty. It's a lot more likely that Toronto says, shut the fuck up, get out of here. But I would at least try.
Hold on, does he do it again?
The current CDL standings for the Major 2 qualifiers so far are as follows, and it's not especially pretty for FaZe. They're down in 9th right now, 2-4, 10-12 map count, and their matches do not get an awful lot easier. So they will, if things continue like this, have to consider some sort of a change. 04 hasn't been playing very well, neither really has Drazah. Abuzah's been solid, definitely. Simp's been out of control, as it seems always is the case, but FaZe have not been good enough this stage, and last weekend was an absolute disaster. Is Zinni right? You phone up Toronto and you say, look, your team, I mean, to be fair, they've won 9 straight maps. They look like they're on a tear at the moment. So if Toronto keep going, they're not just going to give up JoeDeceives. But, you know, who knows? If Toronto have a bad time, let's say hypothetically, Major 2 doesn't go well for Toronto, they bomb out again. JoeDeceives, everyone kind of knows he's going to leave at the end of the year. It's very expected. Thieves might get him. Falcons might get him. Maybe Gentlemates. Who knows, right? But Joe is unlikely to stay on Toronto. He's probably going to get offered more money as a salary than Toronto can. And his contract is up with Toronto anyway, so they can't keep him to a contract like last year with a buyout. If he wants to leave, he can leave, and he probably will. So he's currently under contract. There is an argument that Toronto could sell him for at least some money now, but obviously you would then sacrifice probably any sort of success for at least the rest of the year and then continue the rebuild. So I don't think it's likely, but FaZe could consider it. Look, if you could get JoeDeceives alongside Simp, it's something worth doing, and also FaZe have to think about the future as well, because in an ideal world, yeah, FaZe get JoeDeceives. They could maybe get him in the off-season for free, but they'd probably have to have a real bidding war with other teams in terms of salary to make that happen. So maybe it makes sense to try and make the move now. Would Toronto be interested? did. They are the type of team that will, you know, they like to do a bit of business, Toronto. Like, they can be a little frugal at times, so maybe there's some logic in that. Regardless, FaZe need a big bounce back weekends, and is it going to happen with these games? Because today, they play Thieves. Massive matchup tonight. FaZe are currently 2-4. If they get to 2-5, they're almost certainly going to be having to play in Birmingham. It's unlikely that they will not make it at all, but if they're the 11th or the 12th seed, they won't even go. But they're very much on the borderline of having to be in the play-in at the moment. And Thieves, we know that that's going to be a very competitive game. And tomorrow they play OpTic. So that's FaZe's weekend, right? Like, they're already 2-4. They could come out of this weekend 2-6. It's such a critical weekend for them. They've still got Gentlemates to play as well. They do play Ravens and Cloud9, but even Ravens, like online, that is far from an easy series. They should obviously beat Cloud9, but like all of these next 4 games are tough, like definitely tough, and they have a lot to prove. So we'll see, because old FaZe, if they had a bad weekend, bad series, and they very rarely did even have anywhere close to a loss, let alone bad weekends, but they would always bounce back. If FaZe lost the next series, you could count on them to just rail their opposition. FaZe right now are not as feared as they once were, that is for sure. And, well, I don't think Thieves or OpTic will be fearing them at all this weekend. Those are the games of tonight. Surge Cloud9, wow, bagger. Actually is a great little burger bowl, to be fair. Then Thieves FaZe, then Heretics G2, which also has a little bit of intrigue as well. But very much interested to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.